Mr. Feynman wasn't joking. Chapter 8. Escape Route. What Conceptual Education Protects. Ask most adults what school felt like in the early years, and many will remember a scene like this. In kindergarten, a teacher holds up a big card with the word dog printed under a cartoon picture. The class chants dog in unison. Next card, cat. Next, house. The children are praised for remembering which squiggles go with which pictures. What they are not asked to do is notice that the same marks, D, O, G, appear in every dog, or that those marks stand for sounds they can hear, segment, and recombine in other words. The exercise is not concept building. It is flashcard conditioning. At the lowest level of cognition, it trains bare recognition of shapes on cue, floating verbal tokens with no grasp of the code underneath. By third or fourth grade, the method has grown more sophisticated but not more conceptual. A reading group sits with an integrated basal, a short story about a child at the beach, followed by vocabulary boxes and multiple-choice questions. Students are told to find the main idea by choosing which sentence best matches the teacher's key. Many quickly learn the real trick. Skim for bolded words, match phrases in the question stem to phrases in the answer choices, and eliminate the obviously silly option. They can circle the right letter while never forming a clear mental picture of what happened in the story or why it matters. Again, this is the lowest level of cognition, recall and pattern matching dressed up as comprehension. The performance artifact looks impressive. The underlying conceptual grasp is thin or missing. A similar pattern shows up in social studies. The class does the American Revolution in 2 weeks by memorizing that the Boston Tea Party was in 1773, that the Declaration was signed in 1776, and that taxation without representation was a cause. The test asks which event came first and what phrase belongs with which war. Students who can recite the dates and match the slogans pass easily, even if they could not explain, in their own words, why taxation without representation was a problem, how it connects to a wider idea about legitimate government, or what principle was actually at stake. Once again, the system rewards the lowest level of cognition, recall of disconnected facts, while leaving the conceptual level, what is a just government, untouched. These are not innocent quirks of style. They teach a specific habit of mind. Treat words, dates, and main ideas as free-floating tokens to be retrieved on command, not as integrations of reality that you must own before you can use. By the time those children reach Feynman's physics classroom or an AI-saturated university, many have spent a decade practicing the same move. Produce the right symbol on schedule. Hope no one asks you to connect it to the world. Conceptual education takes the same raw material, stories, words, procedures, events, but insists on moving past recognition to integration. A conceptual teacher asks, what is the principle here? How does this connect to what you already know? Can you use this idea, in your own words, on a problem you have never seen before? Those questions define the escape route this chapter defends, away from floating abstractions and toward a mind that owns its concepts and can think with them. Departure from a broken system. The modern system is not broken because of a lack of information. In the AI era, information and explanations are abundant. The system is broken because it fails too often at the one job that cannot be automated without losing the human being. Cultivating the conceptual faculty, the ability to integrate facts into concepts and principles, and use them to think in reality. Conceptual education is not a buzzword. It is a method, a disciplined progression from concrete to abstract, taught in hierarchy, constantly re-anchored to reality, until the student can do the integrations independently. Words are not concepts. A student can repeat language long before the underlying concept is formed. That is why fluent outputs, especially AI-assisted outputs, are not reliable evidence of understanding. A conceptual classroom treats verbal fluency as a tool, not a substitute. The student must demonstrate the internal integration behind the words, examples, contrasts, applications, and the ability to answer why without collapsing into memorized phrases. How concepts actually form and why AI must be constrained. A psychologically realistic account of concept formation emphasizes a staged process, recognition of regularities, differentiation and contrast, and then symbolic consolidation in language. The teacher's job is to guide that construction, not merely to provide definitions and move on. This is where AI becomes either dangerous or powerful. If AI supplies the final language too early, it can short-circuit the student's cognitive work. If AI is constrained to provide examples, ask for comparisons, and prompt justifications, while requiring the student to do the integrations, it can support conceptual growth rather than replace it. The teacher's irreplaceable role. When information is cheap, the teacher's value is not primarily broadcasting content. The teacher's value is epistemological, guiding the learner's mind from perception to comprehension, calibrating pace to understanding, and insisting on clarity, integration, and intellectual honesty. AI can assist with practice and feedback. It cannot replace the moral intellectual function of a good teacher, modeling rationality and enforcing reality contact when the student's mind wants to slide into shortcuts. A deliberate glimpse of hope for students. If you are reading this as a student, the escape route does not begin with a new school type or a new program. It begins with one changed habit, refusing to accept "I wrote it down" as evidence that you have learned it. Before you close your notebook or your laptop each day, pick one idea and force yourself to do what Feynman demanded. Explain it in your own words, connect it to something concrete, and push it one step further than the teacher did. That tiny act is a prototype of the larger system this series will eventually describe. Education built around your conceptual faculty, not around your ability to mimic the machine. A deliberate glimpse of hope. What can't be automated? A machine can produce answers. It cannot make a student love reality, choose honesty, or insist on earned competence. A school that treats virtue as the guardrails and conceptual development as the aim is not competing with AI on speed. It's doing something different, building a mind that can use any tool without surrendering itself to the tool. In the next chapter, we move from principles to a tighter picture of content and method in a conceptual model, enough to make the escape route visible without giving away every operational detail.